Have you ever shared something real and raw with someone and then immediately regretted it? Or you've been on the other side where someone shared something pretty hard with you and you just didn't even know what to do with that information? This is a conversation I had with my good friend, Pastor Scott Savage, on vulnerability and communication and intimacy in relationships, why it works, when it doesn't, what to do, what not to do. So take a listen.
So Robyn is going to help us today with what I'm calling vulnerability coaching. Now, you've heard the message now twice.
Yeah.
What sticks out to you that you've heard today that I've shared?
Well, it's the same that hit me that first service around that Genesis 3, when Adam and Eve become aware of their nakedness and their experience now is shame. What they were and never stopped being first before the shame got there was that they're sacred. They were made in the image of God, and they personally are sacred, and their relationship is sacred. And when sin entered the world, the enemy has put a filter over their eyes and our eyes, so we first experience shame and we forget our sacredness. So when you're talking about vulnerability, it's a bid that I have that, will you see the sacredness in me? I want to see the sacredness in you, but my shame, the door, I'm too scared to do that. And so I feel like this is such an important topic because we want this so bad, but we oftentimes don't know the how.
So one of the things that you and Joey have taught me is that vulnerability is essential to a healthy relationship.
Yes.
And what you've said, I've taken notes, is that we can only be loved to the extent we make ourselves known.
Yes.
We can only be loved to the extent we make ourselves known. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, definitely. So if the word vulnerability just feels very out there and big, just exchange it with, do you want to be known? Do you want to feel truly seen? It requires bringing yourself into the relationship, which requires vulnerability, which requires ultimately risk. And that's where a lot of us then put on the brakes. We're like, well, then that sounded good until that moment. Once I have to risk, because you may or may not receive me the way I'm hoping you will, I don't know if I want to risk that. And so truly, though, it is tied to you feeling loved. If you hold back letting someone else know you, let alone you knowing you having your own self-awareness, you looking past your shame to see what else is in there, that's what the enemy hopes you won't ever do. You won't be able to give love or receive love the way Jesus even talked about it when the great commandment. Love your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. So know and be aware of all of you, and love your neighbor as yourself. And so there's a direct correlation with knowing and loving, and it requires risk.
So I mentioned here, and I told my own story, a lot of us are really familiar with unhealthy vulnerability.
Yes.
We see that happen in our world, and we've experienced it, either given it or received it. What is required for healthy vulnerability to happen? Like if we were making a cake or making dinner, there's an ingredients list. What are the ingredients for healthy vulnerability?
In a lot of ways, it's easy to point to what's not the right ingredient because that's where our hurt lies. So generally speaking, you need to have the right context and the right environment and what we call in counseling language, emotional safety. And what I mean by that is being emotionally comfortable with the other person. We all have this experience. Like if you go into someone's home for the first time, within 2 seconds, you can already tell, just intuitively, is this the kind of home I can take off my shoes, put my feet on the couch, help myself to the refrigerator, or is this the kind of home where I am to sit proper and just don't talk unless I'm talked to, right? You know that. Our souls are wired the same way. What we're looking for in relationships is our soul to feel at home in the presence of another person. Can I let down? Can I show you another part of me that I'm nervous to, but if I do, we might have a deeper relationship?
we were having coffee a couple weeks ago, and you used a phrase that I'm not sure I'd ever heard before. You used a phrase with me, and the phrase is calculated vulnerability, which initially I kind of bristled at because I'm like, that kind of seems like I'm playing a game or it's not genuine, but you expressed this in a really, I think, helpful way. So what does calculated vulnerability do to help build a healthy relationship?
Right. Well, let me paint a picture I think we can all relate to. If we've had any experience on social media, this would speak to like the wrong context. Some of us risk and test being known by posting something and hoping like you'll be seen, known, understood. And that is a dangerous form of vulnerability. A calculated vulnerability is approaching the relationship in a one-on-one situation, not to the masses. Like that's not where intimacy is developed. Because what we're talking about is intimacy.
Which is not just in terms of a couple and some sort of physical experience. Intimacy is a much bigger term.
Our soul to feel seen and known and safe. And so calculated vulnerability, I'm like object lesson person.
Well, you guys bring up props when we have therapy, and I know I'm going to need help after that.
So, if I give you, this is your hand, and this is my hand, and this is what I've been dealt with in life, right? And so I might have an opportunity to have a conversation with you, and I don't know you very well, and so I'm going to give you maybe a 3, like something that's not real of high value, and just put that out there and see what you do with that. If you do nothing, I'll just wonder, like maybe you didn't hear me, maybe you're feeling nervous, so maybe I'll up it a little to a 4 and see what you do with that. If you respond in a way that makes me feel like you're listening to me, that's called like a match. So maybe you have something in your hand.
Maybe I have an 8.
Well, now, if you give me an 8, not only do I feel like you hear me, but you are matching my vulnerability and upping it. You've matched +1 me. And so that looks like, wow, when you said that you were having a really hard time over the holidays, if I'm being honest with you, I struggle a lot. I feel very alone, and I feel like everyone wants me to be happy, and I'm just trying to get out of bed. Not only did you hear me, but you gave me something even more about you, and you matched me, which makes me say, you know what, that felt good. I think I'm going to go there with you, and I'm going to give you my face card. Well, you know why I felt so lonely is this is the first year without my loved one, and I just haven't even wanted to say that out loud. So you can see how you match, and you look for the match +1, and if I share something big like that with you, and your response is something like, well, aren't you over that by now? We've all been told really rough things. I'm not going to give you any more of my cards. The other thing that happens sometimes is if this is my hand, I'm so excited to get to know you. I think we're going to be best friends. Here's my whole life story in the first 5 minutes. Has anyone experienced that? And then you're scared of me, and then you run off, and then I think, I've tried this. No one is ever there for me. And we're not gauging. We're not calculating our vulnerability in a healthy way.
Now, I know as good as this is, there are some people here who are resisting it.
Sure.
And one of the things I often hear when I talk about vulnerability or intimacy is, Scott, that's a woman thing.
Yes.
Dudes don't do vulnerability.
Yeah, right. So if dudes want intimacy, if they want to feel known in this world by even other men, not like your deepest, darkest secret, but like, I can be mean in front of you. You're not going to judge me. I feel like you're going to meet me with dignity and not condemnation. Like, we all have a need for that. That is not a gender-specific thing. We all have that need. Some of us aren't willing to risk it. Or we go to the same channels for risk. We might, as a guy, you might only look to your wife and lump it under one category of intimacy and think that's going to fulfill what God designed for your entire soul to experience. So I would just say, actually, you have just as big a need, but it's up to you to explore what that looks like.
Now, one of the things that this triggered in the first service is there are some times where I'm worried about, like you were, playing my cards.
Yeah.
But then there's another part of it where I want to be the kind of person that somebody can be vulnerable with.
Yes.
And I know at times that I may not be helpful. I may respond in the wrong way. I may say the wrong thing. I may realize later, oh, that was what that was. I totally missed it. How can I be the kind of person that somebody's comfortable playing their card in front of and responding well? How do I steward that moment?
That's a great question, because the other side of vulnerability is not that just you're looking for a safe person, but you got to be a safe person for someone else. And so oftentimes what happens is you're holding your cards, I'm holding mine, and you're sharing something really, to you, risky. And I'm just like, what am I going to say next? What am I going to, like, you're thinking about your response. That's not being a safe person. It's laying your cards down and tell me more. What was that like for you? I can remember a time, but I don't want to make it about me. So in fact, just tell me more. So becoming a safe person and not distracting yourself with your own pain, being able to sit in the awkwardness and the pain without just using, like, there's a way to use scripture to edify and to encourage and bring hope. And then there's another way to use scripture to clean up the messiness so you don't feel uncomfortable in a hard situation. And that's where I'd encourage you to be really locked in on, what is that person asking of me right now? Maybe it's just silence. And we forget that if we feel nervous because we are being invited into someone's sacred place, that we can just say, this is hitting me deep. I don't know how to respond to you, but I want you to know I'm here. If you're okay with this, I'm just not sure what to say. Like, that's being vulnerable. That's acceptable. You don't have to have an answer. And I think sometimes we want to feel like we gave the person something, but giving them our attention and dignity and compassion versus criticalness is huge. So now I'm curious, after listening to that, what is standing out to you? What is a key takeaway that you want to apply to your relationships that may help where you've been stuck? I'd like to know. Leave a comment. And if you'd like more help in your relationships, I have more resources at robyncoffman.com. And make sure to subscribe to this channel, because that's why I'm here, helping you live more unlocked and free in every area of your life.